Welcome back. You know, the Tokyo Olympics has been a frequent issue here on Tokyo on Fire, and just recently there has been a revelation of a bribe that was paid just prior to Tokyo winning the bid.
Wait. Bribe?
Bribe? Well, a consulting fee.
A consulting fee, which was paid both before and after the successful bid by Tokyo to get the Olympics.
Maybe that's okay, but immediately before...
Don't call it a bribe.
I didn't say bribe, I said a payment that must be made.
Yes. Now, let's backtrack. Okay. The head of the Japan Olympic Committee had to suddenly respond to reports coming from overseas that the Japan bid for the Olympics for 2020 contained in it, among other things, consulting fees paid to a mysterious company based in Singapore.
When you hear this, you just slap your forehead and you say, what else can come out of this?
Well, yeah, the Olympics so far have been just a comedy routine. The only thing is it's going to come after the tragedy of Rio, and by comparison, this will be hilarious.
Right.
But in this case, what was found is that an associate of the son of the head of the International Athletics Federation, now disgraced, and now in big trouble on bribery charges of his own, that individual received significant amounts of money for undisclosed and otherwise indescribable so-called consulting on how to do a bid. And the news first came out overseas, so in investigations that are taking place in France and now in Singapore into the activities of first the International Athletic Federation's head and now his family members and now their associates. And it's come, the thing is, this was completely naked in that the bank account listing says for consulting fees for the Japan Olympics, sent from and it was sent from one of their open accounts.
Right.
It's not like this.
We're not hiding this.
This is not under the table. And when he was asked about this in diet session, they called the head of the Japan Olympic Committee's into the diet session and told him, they asked him, what is it that you're doing? What is it that you were thinking? He says, well, everybody pays consulting fees. And then began the excuses. Well, right. Dentsu, the world's largest...
They introduced us to this fellow.
No, Japan's largest...
ad agency.
Right. Said, we should do this because this is the thing that everybody does. And then it was staff members, and then there's nothing wrong, this was all entirely legal.
Dodge.
It's just incredible, again, really terrible PR. And in this case, it was in diet session, so he ostensibly, one thinks, was required to tell the truth about what was going on. But the sense that you get that this narrative that we wanted to create a long time ago, or at least the Abe administration, of Japan the clean, Japan the technologically advanced,
by the book,
Japan the by the book legal place gets the Olympics, that has been exploded.
Well, it kind of permeates throughout a lot of different things. There's been news about Takeda, about Mitsubishi, about the automobile consumption.
But it's different. They didn't fake it.
Yes,
they had this in their account books. It was right there. But the thing is, no one could make the connection until foreign entities looking at criminal activities.
Well, they've actually launched an investigation.
The French have an investigation. The Singaporeans do. Japan does not yet have one. Does not have a criminal investigation opened yet.
Right.
But there's probably no crime here. Sending money to someone and not getting something in return is stupid, but it's not necessarily a crime. In the case of the Olympic Committee, they seem to think that they can just let it go. Whether the public's going to see it that way or not is another question. Again, this is donated money. It's not public money necessarily that they were playing with, and it's a lot of money. Still, it makes Japan look like a bunch of rubes.
Well, it looks awful bad. I mean, the money was paid weeks before the announcement of who was winning.
Yes,
and then a second tranche immediately afterwards. And there's no trail of consulting services being provided before that date, but a big lump sum and a second lump sum when the announcement was made.
It's clear that this thing was a bribe. There's simply nothing that the individuals involved could have provided that was worth the amount of money that they were paid. What happens next?
Well, let's chase that a little bit more, okay? Let's say that the Olympic Committee, the awarding committee, has been infiltrated somehow. Clearly they have an office, they have an organization. The money that went to this individual, I mean, isn't there an organization that receives that sort of money? Hasn't that happened with Rio?
The accountants signed off on it. They had their accounts checked. They were done by whatever accountancy agency did it. Everything was fine, no problem, no harm, no foul, move on.
Right.
But there are criminal investigations overseas that are going to grab probably individuals in Japan.
But what this tells you, though, is that there is an individual who received some money who had his finger on the button. Yes, Tokyo, thank you.
Well, you hope so. That's the old joke about, do you think that the bribe that you paid the politician changed his vote? Well, I certainly hope so. That thing. Yeah, but...
Is this part and parcel of how the Olympic bid is
won? But it goes
won?
completely against what Japan's image is supposed to be.
Right.
A country of extraordinary safety, a country of extraordinary honesty.
Squeaky clean.
Squeaky clean in terms of its... and very careful in terms of its international dealings, that it would... The Japan Olympic Committee would get caught. And... Look, it's not like sports is not under a huge spotlight for all kinds of things, with the Russians being banned from participating at Rio because of their drug problems,
the doping,
everything. That you would think that one of these things would just fly is extremely naive.
So what happens next? I mean, the bid won't be withdrawn. They won't tell Tokyo, we're not going to give you the bid anymore because somebody took some money from you.
Well, that's obvious. So in terms of physically, will anything change? Well, no.
It's a big brouhaha.
But the thing is, Takeda is probably the only person in the major board of the Olympic Committee who actually has experience managing a sports organization. All the other persons who are appointed by Abe are retreads and basically semi-losers.
He said he knows how the deal is done. He knows this business.
Yeah, he's the only one who is approximately a sports background.
Right.
Everybody else are just retired politicians or failed bureaucrats. It's true. You can't deny that.
I mean, there's so much prestige assigned to that. I mean, if you are on the Olympic Committee or you have the Olympic badge in any shape or form, I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
Well, maybe. When all of this is said and done, it could be a black mark on you.
Sure. I mean, look at the stadium. I mean, the stadium is still a hole.
And it's still a hole in the ground. There's nothing moving there. There's still disagreements about where certain sports are going to be held. It's a mess.
Yes, it is a mess indeed. Please continue to stay tuned. This story is not over. We expect lots more revelations to come out. We'll be watching those and reporting them to you.